having technical difficulties. We will record this meeting on Zoom and put it on YouTube later, so you will be able to view this meeting, but not as it is in progress. So with that, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 3:15. And I've asked Supervisor David Gomez to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gomez, and we will now go to agenda item 2, and we'll turn the time over to Derek Rapier to discuss A, B, and C.
Thank you. Consistent with the board's directive at our last budget work session, we have prepared to make the payment to pay off our outstanding PSPRS unfunded liability between the 3 transactions, and I've given you proposed motion language. But between those 3 transactions in A, B, and C, that would bring our balance down, I want to emphasize, close to 0. It may be over, it may be under. Here's the problem we have, and it is that they do the actuarial evaluation based on June, I'll take this from now, on June 30th planned funding, and then they do their analysis and issue that in November. So it's roughly 1.9235 million is based on a number in January. So the reason we want to rush to get this done before the end of the fiscal year is that it will be there when they do the evaluation for the following year. So because of market changes and interest rates on bonds, we may be off just a little bit. So we will have budgeted a small amount for next year to make up that difference. But this will bring us very, very close. We may actually be over because of how the funds have performed in the investment pool. But with those 3 motions, we will be able to pay off our known outstanding liability.
But if we are over, that will be given as a credit and used at a later date when the markets aren't as favorable.
What happens, and there are a few of them, because you remember PSPRS funds are about 217 funds managed as one, but they're individual funds. Some of those are overfunded right now. So the current year-to-year obligation will remain the same. But if we're overfunded, you're right. If there's an underperforming year, that balance would then be used to make that up. So the industry standard used to always be at 80% funded, but as the long recovery out of 2008, basically, if you can be close to 100, that's where you want to be because of year-to-year fluctuations.
Okay. So, does anyone have any questions on A, because all 3 of these funds are taken from different funds, but they're going into the public safety personnel retirement system to make that $1.92 million. So,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Well, with that said, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 42-17106B, I move that the board approve a budget adjustment to change the use of $675,914 from the capital projects to be used to pay down Greenlee County's unfunded actuarial accrued liability, and to transfer $675,914 from the capital projects fund to the general fund for the purpose of paying an additional contribution toward the county's unfunded liability, and to authorize the expenditure of these transferred funds to the public safety personnel retirement system before the end of the fiscal year. As a part of the motion, the board finds that the transfer is in the public interest and based on a demonstrated need to address ever-increasing budget constraints in future budget years.
I second that.
Okay, is there any questions or further discussions on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. We'll now go to 2B. Motion will be in order if there's no questions.
Well, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute Section 42-17106B, I move that the board approve a budget adjustment to change the use of $750,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act Local and Tribal Consistency Fund to be used to pay down Greenlee County's unfunded actuarial accrued liability and to transfer within the general fund $750,000 from the ARPA LACTF fund to the general fund to the PRS UAL fund for the purpose of paying an additional contribution towards the county's unfunded liability and to authorize the expenditure of these transferred funds to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System before the end of the fiscal year. As part of the motion, the board finds that the transfer is in the public interest and based on a demonstrated need to address ever-increasing budget constraints in future budget years.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We will now go to 2C. If there's no questions, a motion would be in order.
I move that an additional payment of $500,000 from budgeted funds in the PRS unfunded actuarial accrued liability UAAL fund, which is budgeted for additional payment towards PRS unfunded liability, be authorized for payment before the end of the fiscal year.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very, very much. We will now go to agenda item 3, which is consent agenda.
Can you just revel in being out of that debt for a minute? Just
Savor it for a second.
Okay, let's move on.
Make a quick comment, and we commented on this before, but as far as I know, we're the only entity with a large debt that has been able to do that with cash. We do not have additional debt. So we've paid this one off with cash, and that is good.
It is good.
God is good. Okay. I so move that we approve the consent agenda as posted.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any questions? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very, very much. And now do we need to go into a...
Okay. We're going to switch gears here real quick.